I'm Marissa Moran, Chief Communications Officer at the Pacific Council, and today I'm speaking with the newest co-chairs of the Pacific Council's Board of Directors, Robert Lovelace and Richard Goetz. They have both been members of the Council and directors on the board for many years. The Council staff and leadership team are so happy to have them at the helm in this new role. By way of brief introduction, Rich Goetz is a partner at O'Melveny & Myers LLP. He is the firm-wide co-chair of O'Melveny's litigation department, and he serves on the firm's 8-member global management team. Rich has also co-chaired the Pacific Council's Guantanamo Bay Task Force since 2013. Rob Lovelace is a portfolio manager for the American Funds and president of the New Perspective Fund and New World Fund. He is also vice chairman and a director of the Capital Group companies. Rob has been a Pacific Council director since 2003. I'm going to ask them a few questions about their plans for the Pacific Council and what we can expect from their leadership. Let's get started by revisiting the Pacific Council's mission, which is that the Pacific Council is committed to building the capacity of Los Angeles and California for impact on global issues, discourse, and policy. So what about the Pacific Council's mission resonates most with you, especially at this point in our world and our nation's current events? Rich, we can start with you.
Well, thank you, Marissa. Appreciate the introduction and the opportunity. You know, I've long been in awe of the Pacific Council and its membership and its ability to have serious fact-based rational discussion of complex issues. That's particularly important now. We have political battles that make us seem farther apart than ever, and we have a pandemic that ties us together in ways that are also unprecedented. And the Council helps us bridge gaps. We can work together as we did in our unanimous Guantanamo Bay reports. That task force had a wide range of political views, and yet we were unanimous and remarkably got legislation through a non-unanimous Congress. So we can do that, but more broadly, we help bring a voice for Los Angeles and California to the discussion of global issues. And our membership learns from each other. We're intellectually curious. We enjoy learning about issues in the world and how we can help frame them. It's important to who we are and what we will become. And I'll just end this question with telling you how honored I am to be a member of the Council, let alone helping with Rob to lead it. As I said, I've always been in awe of this organization, and I can't believe I'm having this interview in this job today.
Thank you, Rich. Rob, how does our mission resonate with you?
Marissa, I'd also like to thank you for hosting this, and I too am honored to be in the role I am now, having been involved with the Council since its inception 25 years ago, and Rich, definitely looking forward to being a partner with you as we do this going forward. You know, the Council has always had a special place in Los Angeles and more broadly on the West Coast and the region. And the vision was always to figure out how we can drive internationalism, how we can bring that global spirit into our communities, but also more importantly, figuring out how we can have a bigger impact on policy, on keeping people aware of the issues so that we're having an impact through our business lives, in our day-to-day lives, and through policy and a bigger impact. So there really isn't a city that has quite the same global profile as Los Angeles. I mean, it's a very unique place, very cutting edge in many ways, really important to the United States in terms of where growth in the world is happening. And so it's always been an important aspect, but it's been surprisingly challenging. Los Angeles is not the easiest city for anyone to kind of get their arms around. And the way the city works is very decentralized. And so I'm really proud of the progress we've already made at the Council, but you know, that idea of helping us come together, even as a community, a county, a state, all of those things are so important right now, even more important than ever. But it's going to continue to be an issue. And at a time when, if anything, people are talking more about disengaging from the world, having a more inward focus, all the more reason and importance that we need to be focusing on the impact of global issues, discourse, policy, all those different issues become so much more important now. And there just aren't that many organizations with the singular focus that we have.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm actually going to ask you now if you could both share a little bit about what your goals are as co-chairs. And Rob, we can start with you.
Well, I think we know the council has come a long way. We are established. We have an incredible member base. We have a fantastic board. The staff is outstanding. And we've done, as highlighted, Guantanamo Bay and a number of great thought pieces. Historically, we've also done a lot of travel for different groups. That clearly will be something that comes back in the future. And we're a place for people to get connected. So I think we've established who we are. And really, it's about where we want to go with this. And I just think we can have so much more impact than we're having right now. The number of people that have been in administrations in the US, that have been ambassadors, that know how policy works, they all flock to be in the Pacific Council after they're done with their terms. So we have this incredible information base that's connecting with business leaders, that's connecting with social leaders. So I think we've got the ability to take this to a new level in terms of what we're trying to do. We know we're great because we have diverse views. We know that having different opinions at the simplest level, the different parts of the political divide, but more deeply, true diversity in opinions matter. And we need to do a better job in making sure that we reflect the community that we serve in Los Angeles and Greater California. We need to have a more diverse membership base. We need to make sure all of our panels are diverse. We need to make sure that we're bringing the voices into the room so that it truly is representative of what we're trying to do. And that is a key goal for the organization and for us as leaders.
Right. And again, not just political diversity, but also thinking about diversity of lived experience and perspective and industry and expertise, and of course, race and ethnicity as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So if I could add to that, I agree with Rob as usual, and I would just make two quick points. One of the fundamental strengths and keys to the power of Los Angeles and California is its diversity. So reflecting that is empowering for the organization. And it goes back to that core notion I started with, which is we are and will continue to be a group that is a place for the membership to discuss and have rational, fact-based debate on the difficult issues facing our time and trying to make a difference on those issues that matter for our region and our state. So diversity is critical to that. And we've had thrust upon us another thing that's critical to that, which is to take advantage of changes that the pandemic has forced on us. I think in the future, we will see a return to our in-person meetings and trips and the interpersonal relations we've all enjoyed. We're also going to see the liberating factor of Zoom and other platforms to help us reach more broadly, more quickly, more nimbly into other areas. So it's an exciting time born of a stressful time.
Exactly. That's exciting. And I think that our membership can really look forward to some sort of hybrid of in-person and virtual events so that, even things like traffic that used to be a hindering reality of ours in Los Angeles, that's going to come back for sure, and we'll be ready for it. So I'm going to close here with just a few. Really appreciate these remarks, and thank you both so much for sharing. I thought we could touch on a few anecdotes from your time, both of you having long histories with the council. Rob, you've been involved with the council, as you said, from day one. How has your perspective of the organization changed from the early days till now? And do you have any particularly eye-opening stories from those early days?
I think we all have to thank Abe Lowenthal. It's important to recognize his contribution as the founder the visionary that made all this happen. And I was lucky to be there with him and continue to be in dialogue with him around this organization and others that he's helped form, with this idea of bringing informed people together to focus on policy and other issues. You know, I've been fortunate to be in the room where amazing conversations have happened. Former leaders, particularly in Latin America for a period of time, clearly a lot of business and political leaders in Asia. But I think the most impactful stories I can tell would really be around trips. It's that intense time with people for an extended period, going to different countries. I think a big part of the arc here is moving from the soundbite and the artificial and the other into whether it's the conversations that we have with the actual leaders and hearing the nuance of what they were thinking at the time, or being exposed directly through these, and then getting to know the fellow members in the organization, who are all incredibly interesting and worth getting to know. That has really been the most significant thing for me.
Thanks, Rob. And what you said sort of captures the Pacific Council experience in my mind, right? Something that really sets this organization apart, what you can experience with us as a member, as a leader, as someone just even working for the organization like me, that you can't get anywhere else. So thank you for that. Rich, I know that you have worked closely with Warren Christopher in the past, who was an early Pacific Council champion. Do you have any good, stories or experiences from your time working with him? Or alternatively, you could share some stories from your time visiting Gitmo and that unique experience.
Well, let me start with just following up on what Rob said. I have found a huge value of the Pacific Council is accidental encounters you have that change your worldview. And I've had that in dinners, I've had it at military bases, I've had it in chats with other members, and it's a huge value the organization delivers. So Warren Christopher is one of the reasons I hold the council in awe. He was a mentor of mine and one of the early co-chairs of this organization. It's also one of the reasons I find it hard to believe I'm having this discussion with you. He embodied what the council is, in both in terms of his personal advice and his leadership of the council. He had a few simple rules that really stick with me. One is get out of your comfort zone. Another is recognize that there's often, probably always, much you don't know about a given situation and much to learn. Another was to recognize the motivations of the other side. Why do they feel the way they do? And then a final one is, and he borrowed this, which is there's no limit to what you can accomplish if you don't care about who gets credit. And that goes back to the nonpartisan part of the council, by the way, because I've heard that attributed to Harry Truman and to Ronald Reagan. So who knows, but it's something that cuts across party lines. What we do here helps frame our reputation everywhere. And it's in our power to help frame that reputation. So that's one of the most exciting things I go into this partnership with Rob to work on.
Absolutely. I love that really touches on this local to global focus, where we're looking at how local experience has an impact at the global level. And just want to thank you both so much, Rich and Rob, for bringing your wisdom and your humility. Really, I love hearing that from both of you into these roles. And we're so excited to start this new chapter of the Pacific Council with you, now that we've just completed our 25th year, going into the next quarter century, I suppose. It'll be exciting to see what this holds for the organization, and welcome aboard. And we will conclude the interview here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thanks, Marissa. Nice to see you. Thanks, Rich.